Welcome to Frisella's All Around the Yard. I'm back. It's been a little while. Tony Frisella Jr. hosting today's episode with my good friend and architect, Jeff Day. Jeff Day, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. That's a pretty aggressive entry you did there, man.
I mean, I got to level it up to match that personality that I'm talking with here. So
yeah, man. Yeah, that's some bold action. I like it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to have Jeff on the show today because our worlds collide quite often, and more so now than ever, with all the municipalities that are requiring a focus on the landscaping, focus on rain gardens, water mitigation, MSD, which is our sewer district here, that makes you have what's called a rain garden in most new custom home developments or commercial developments. And Jeff and I have worked on several projects and concepts together where before the house was even built or finally designed, he brought us in to take a look at, how this is actually going to lay out. I think of the falling water house,
Sure.
Those kind of things. So, but yeah, just ruled today, so what do you see with some of the houses you've been working on recently where landscape might have been, secondary, but then had to get thrust to the forefront of the design process?
Yeah, you see a real good mix of everything, obviously, but the way we've been seeing projects really need to go for them to feel holistic and complete and really pulled together properly. Even pools, patios, all of these kinds of things. You've got to pull all of these team members together and make sure that it's a homogenous group, right? Guys that can sync up and you get a lot of good synergy out of them so that at the end result, you guys wind up with this kind of powerful, almost like, we've got the botanical gardens, right? Over the years, they've been kind of manicuring that and adding to that. Well, you want your house when you move into it not to feel like a kind of a development home that has little spindly trees.
Or pieced together thought process that
right.
just wasn't. So a lot of times we'll work together on master plans.
That's right.
Where even though they don't want to go with the whole thing up at once for whatever reason, budgets, just they want to sit with the home for a little while, which is actually a common thing. They design the big, beautiful home that gets developed, gets built, and they want to live in it for a little bit. They have to do the bare minimum with landscaping, but a lot of times they want to live in it and actually experience the home to see how they're actually going to use it, because you and I both know everything looks great on paper, but when it's actually built and you're in it, how you use it actually changes.
That's right.
So, when you move to the outside, I know a lot of times I like to see how windows are placed on homes. And I know for a while there's been this big trend with these.
Bug us all the time to send you our elevation drawings.
Why do you have so many windows on the houses? It's ridiculous.
So they can see your landscape from inside, man.
These tall, narrow windows that literally have like a foot between. It's like I don't have a tree columnar enough to put there.
Yeah,
so. Now, the big picture windows, I can do something with that because we can put a tree in front of focal point, something special, a paper bark maple, trident maple, Japanese maple, something unique, a serpentine atlas cedar. Right. I know you don't know what that is, rambling all off the top of my head.
I know what that is. I have some of those from you in my yard, actually.
So, is there ever any conversations where the homeowner is saying, hey, from the inside looking out, I want to see X? How many times do you come across that?
Almost every time that we do a brand new house, I want to start out the project by meeting the people on the site, right? If it's an acre lot, 2 acre lot, 3 acre lot, there's a real good chance there's potential for views that really they ought to be capturing in some way, whether that's through the great room windows or whatever. And then, you bring in a landscape company to address kind of framing that view out, right? So just one example, we did a house in Pacific, Missouri. It's kind of a little vacation cottage for a client. And it's got these valleys and whatnot that they're overlooking. It's just gorgeous. But you have to come back through later, right, and make sure that you've addressed it with landscape and things. Otherwise, it just looks like a window looking out. So when you pull in the team early on, I think all of those things, even if, like you're saying, you come in and you just do it step by step, phase by phase, for whatever reason that might be, really kind of pointing the arrow in a direction and moving that direction. It doesn't mean it won't squiggle left or right in the process, but having that stuff figured out, it's going to bring way more drama to the end result.
Well, and on top of that, what most people see, obviously they see the outside of the home, they see the landscaping, but they don't understand all the infrastructure that really goes in behind the scenes that in a lot of cases dictates what you and I are both able to design or design that can be built. Let's put it that way. And I've seen designs that couldn't be built because of some of this infrastructure, whether it's easements with MSD and stormwater mitigations and power line easements and all these different things that are out there, building lines and the crazy rules that some of these municipalities have with sight lines. And some cases recently, Frontenac just adopted this. I think it's one canopy tree for every 1,000 square foot of lot space.
Right.
Now, and I looked at some of these lots and I'm like, how are you going to fit that? Well, so I'm a landscaper, great, putting trees, but like, how are you going to fit that many trees on a site in some cases? And
think about that, right? It's 1,000. Is that what you said, or is
it says one canopy tree for every 1,000? I believe is what I just read.
So an acre is 43,560 square feet. Mm-hmm. That means you got to put 43 and a half canopy trees on that lot.
It's not going to work.
That's nuts.
It's
I
a
live
forest.
on an acre right now, and the back is heavily wooded. You've been there. You've been there plenty of times.
Yeah.
There's no way we could have that many trees.
So, I mean, this is where trying to get everybody on the same page with the people that are reviewing the plans, getting them out to the site. Yep. It's very important to get them out to the site. I can't tell you how many times where there's these nice luxury homes being built, and this is a heavily, densely wooded lot. And what we have to do these plans, but for you and I both to get our plans through, there has to be a tree removal plan and a tree preservation and tree replacement plan. Well, they want you to label every tree that's 6 inches in diameter or bigger. Well, again, you go out to one of these 2.5 acre sites that's nothing but woods and hasn't been touched forever, and you said, well, you can't do this. Oh, well, we have to have it, so otherwise we can't approve the plans. Well, can we meet you on site? And when we brought them out on site,
we'll show you
please let us know how we can do this. So these are a lot of things that a lot of people, the average homeowner doesn't understand that we have to go through in order to get their dream home brought to even the table to get done.
That's right.
And so thinking through all these things ahead of time, I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but the planning side of things. How long is it, from your experience, from the time somebody engages with you to the time that they have an approved set of plans in some of these municipalities that we're talking about where they have a lot of these rules and regulations?
Sure. I mean, I guess the first consideration is that all these municipalities have their different timelines for an architecture design review, which is completely different than reviewing for a permit, right? You're going in to let these bureaucracies tell you if they think your project is pretty enough to be in their community, right, in essence. But some of them do them every other week. Some of them only do them once a month. Some of them do them, even further out than that. So your question is loaded in that regard. But, worst case scenario, and it also is going to depend on, size of house. But we've had houses that we've done that are in the 3,000 foot range, let's say. And we can get from day one through the design approvals at the city, that could be a 3 or 4 month process. But then the bigger the house, the more time it takes. And then candidly, indecisive clients, because people love Pinterest, Houzz, HGTV. These things all play a role in inspiring new design, which is fantastic. But it doesn't inspire less cost for professional fees, right? Because I've had clients that'll call me once a week with new ideas they want to explore. They see their invoice on the backside of all of that, and they're wondering why it got so high, right? Well, we're selling time. You sell time and materials. Mm-hmm. We only sell time,
So, when it comes to landscape, how many times do us landscapers hold you up on drawings? Because I can't, because I know
fight in a parking lot, don't you?
Because I know, for us when it comes to landscape, because they're in some cases it seems like they're more concerned about how the landscape is going to look,
right?
Besides anything else. I mean, the siding and whatever the finish of the home is going to be, but you have too many of the same type of plants. You need to diversify. I'm like, but the look of the home is this,
right?
And but again, I deal with it a lot where, I tell everybody, like, look, getting things through in the first try it's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen.
Commonly. I mean, on the architecture side of it, I don't see
For the landscape
that.
side. For the landscape side.
On the architecture side, I don't see that to be the case as long as you know, as long as you design good-looking architecture and you know what a city is looking for. But yeah, on the landscape side, but there again, right, you have different calibers of people in these bureaucracies or on these boards, if you will. And so you look at a place like Frontenac or Ladue as just an example, or Clayton for that matter, as examples. They're way more particular than a Kirkwood. Like Kirkwood wants a landscape design, but they don't look at it. I've never once heard a comment on a landscape design in Kirkwood. So, but you sit down in Ladue and they have a botanist or somebody on the board, and that person starts really digging in on you. And then I think the most frustrating thing, and I'm probably speaking for you in this, but the most frustrating thing about it is it's kind of a piss and match, right? I mean, you've got your opinion, they have their opinion. It doesn't make one wrong and one right. I mean, unless it's you put this on the wrong side of the house and because the sun is over there, it's going to cook and die. I mean, those are certainly real things, but it's really a matter of opinion 9 out of 10 times.
It gets from the art form side of it, yes, 100% it is. Yeah. So moving into as the world's going more green, with the green homes and the green, people are more green or
sustainable.
Yeah, more sure. They're more green conscious now.
Don't want them to get confused since it's a landscape show.
So, green roofs.
Yeah,
been around for a long time.
Yeah,
and I mean we're seeing them a lot on commercial jobs. Mm-hmm. A lot of people now are doing all. They have been for a while, but it's even more ornate with the pedestal pavers and with the different soil mediums that they have on the roofs now to sustain the plant growth and the weight and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Have you seen anything on the residential end where you see more going that way, or is it pretty much just kind of a hit and miss, or what are you seeing in those lines?
So it's when we see it happen, it's bred out of necessity. Okay, and what I mean by that is, Joe homeowner comes to us and wants to design a house. 99% of the time, Joe doesn't want to grow grass or daisies on the roof of his house, right? However, there's these instances, like in Clayton, we've done it twice now, where you've got a postage stamp lot, but it's a highly desirable area, and that highly desirable area with a postage stamp lot only allows so much house or so much lot cover, which is driveways, sidewalks, patios, house footprint. And the way to get around that is we've done twice now, we've done garages that are in the basement level, and you can walk out your kitchen doors onto your backyard, but you're standing literally on top of your garage.
So I think that's a useful use of space.
It's a fantastic use of space. It comes at a price, though. I mean, you're looking at precast structural concrete slabs, and then all the different layering systems of waterproofing and concrete topping that come with that. So it's pretty big structural, steel and things like that. So it adds up. I mean, it would take a basic brick garage might cost you, 2-car garage might cost you $80,000-$90,000. You do this to it, and it's about a $200,000 garage.
Really, that much?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean the concrete, the structural slabs alone could be $30,000 or $40,000.
I just looking at some of these spaces. And I've seen some pretty cool designs. In particular, one in a very rocky area where they're going to have to blast to put this underground garage in. I just like how the unique concept is of the roof. It's all green yard, and then underneath it you've got everything that's utility. Right. That in a lot of cases you don't want to see anyway. So, do you see anything with maybe less cost prohibitive solutions coming down the pike? Have you heard of anything, seen of anything? I'm just out of curiosity.
Well, what we have started using can I name drop products on this show? I don't know.
Sure.
So a childhood friend of mine, Joe Reese, owns a roofing company, EGRS, and he does a lot of commercial roofing, but he does a lot of the roofs on our projects. And he brought a product to us for a client that wanted to do a rooftop deck. And there's a company manufacturing a product called DeckTech, DECTEC, and this is a pretty durable roofing product that, you know, you could have a 200-pound cast iron chair with 1 inch diameter feet and drag it across this thing for years and it'll hold up. I think if you start using that maybe on flat roof type solutions, but you don't, where you start getting into the hairy things about cost is when you want to live on that roof, right? So now you got to work with not only the load of whatever product, which could easily be 40 to 50 pounds a foot wet, but then people. And when you're working with people loads by code, you're putting in another 50 pounds per foot, right? So now you've got to design this structure to carry 100 pounds per foot. So that would, you know, if it's just a roof, right? You're trying to get around some form of city ordinance that requires a certain amount of green space. Well, the loading would be different if it's something that's not really accessible to hang out on and have big parties at. And I think that's really the only way you're going to get around that kind of cost. But this deck tech stuff would go down, and then you put those modules down and let the grass grow.
So obviously, you know, a new building would be a lot easier and more cost effective because you could structurally engineer the building to support the load.
That's right.
I'm seeing more and more though, and I can't believe that. So if you're telling me that's what that would cost for that little garage, what they're doing with some of these big commercial buildings, and I just bid one of these jobs downtown, and it's a renovation of an old building that's built back in the 20s or the 30s or something. And, you know, pedestal pavers. I mean, there's just tons and tons of, you know, this roof membrane soil that's going to be going up there. And, you know, just out of curiosity, what kind of prep work does it do to the building to do that? Or they just engineered? Are you assuming that they just engineered the amount of figure? Okay, they put this much weight up there, give a percentage of, you know, fluff factor in that weight, and then okay, this is what you guys can do up there. Basically, is what they did.
Yeah, well.
It's not our drawing. We're bidding on somebody else's drawing, but it's, you know, I'm just curious. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a matter of, I mean, again, loaded question, right? There's so many variables, so I'd need to look at the drawings to understand what they did. But in some cases, you can put kind of a separate interior structure in place where you're just running steel columns and beams up to carry only that, right? So that they may be inside. It may be like an exoskeleton, right? Where you're putting this framework around the building that's steel that then takes on that load. But in a lot of cases, I don't know this building, but as old as you're saying it is, I can't imagine the structure was left the way it was. And so some of these communities like St. Louis County, Jefferson County, these guys in Creve Coeur, these guys want you to think through all kinds of seismic issues and wind loading and all of this kind of stuff, and so that can just kind of grow exponentially. The one garage that we did do with the green roof, the one in Clayton, was on an existing house, and we actually, in essence, just did it as an addition to the existing house. Okay. So we were able to structure it however we wanted.
So. Green walls. Have you guys have any green walls in any of your projects? Out of curiosity.
No.
They're pretty. They are. I mean, they're tough. They're not. I don't think in St. Louis, especially, they're going to be as easy because you need a lot of light. People don't understand how much light you actually need, or you need special lights for them.
Especially inside.
Yes.
Yeah, but no. The biggest fear with people on green walls is bugs. Yeah. I don't want a bunch of bagworms. I don't want a bunch of spiders. I don't want a bunch of.
Well, you're not gonna get bagworms on the inside, but you might get some.
Depends on who we're talking about.
But I mean, so like my father's got the atrium at his house.
Yeah.
You know, I know scale is one thing that he battles over there, but when it comes to like the critters and everything like that, I mean, nothing. I mean, honestly, he's never seen anything more than. You know, you normally see in a house in a lot of cases.
Yeah, sure.
But in a lot of cases, you know, when we built his house, you know, just talking about, you know, landscaping and on the inside of a home is we built this atrium. We built this as soon as the footing was done.
Yeah.
So the footing of the house was done. We came in there, dug out the pond and poured concrete, had it all done and brought the soil in and just covered it and then built the rest of the house around it, essentially. So staging kind of what you'd want to see. Do you see atriums at all coming back? Because kind of we're seeing this weird like revival of that age. So I mean, I haven't seen any, but have you seen anything come up?
It's been coming back with bell bottoms, man, which went away for skinny jeans, I guess. But yeah, we have a house under construction right now in Olivet, and the client is they requested that we put kind of a planter area inside the house, and we've got a skylight that is shining right over the top of that. And then we got another one that's in I guess that's considered Wentzville, and yeah, she's going full on atrium. She's even tying from inside to outside. We're going to be the basement level will be about halfway in grade, right? So the outside, the earth will be about halfway up the basement wall. But she wants to take retaining wall block or something and build a little kind of recessed grotto type patio off of this basement. And so that'll tie both in, but there's planter areas and all of that as well. So it's coming back.
That's one. I've seen so many houses. I've seen a house in Chesterfield. It was dated, but the windows were on the north side of the house, and there wasn't enough windows. I mean, they had this atrium. You can hardly get anything to grow in.
Right,
I mean, if you want something that's nice, something that's really kind of artsy, nice when it comes to plants. But otherwise, there's a few generic things you could throw in there that would survive. But I mean, if you're going to do this, you need to really plan for it right, and it takes a lot of windows, it takes a lot of light. Otherwise, you get a lot of the trees growing towards the windows, and everything's pressed against the windows. Yeah. And it's like, what happened to your?
You feel like you need to drink a V8 when you walk in somebody's house. Yeah, man, I hear you.
So is there anything you see that from your side of the fence when it comes to design, looking at the landscape, that you're seeing that is caught your eye, or things that you're seeing incorporated more when it comes to conceptualizing a house or building a house?
Yeah. One of the things that I've been really pushing on my clients about that want a pool in their backyard is, I mean, it's so easy to just pour a concrete rectangular pad around the perimeter of it, and then it's probably the simplest, probably the most cost effective for these pool companies, right? Just create a rectangle and fill that bad boy up with concrete. But what I'm pushing clients to do now is to really think about not only the shape of the pool, even if the pool's a rectangle, think about really how you're going to live around it, right? So you've got maybe there's a covered patio area. A lot of people want those. A lot of people want a barbecue kitchen or whatever, maybe even under that. And
sunk down, a pool house, something like that.
Yeah,
a swim bar.
Yeah, something to that effect. But then if you just do this big concrete rectangle, it feels like a community pool, right? I live in a condo association, and here's our pool kind of thing. And so I've been pushing people to really think about, who's coming over and swimming in this pool? Is it your kids' friends? Is it, like I've got 5 siblings. I don't own a pool. I would never want to own a pool, but I've got 5 siblings. There's 4 siblings. There's 5 spouses between us. There's 15 grandkids. Is it that kind of a party most of the time? And so when you start thinking through age brackets and things like that, you can really start to cut back on the concrete use. Or if it's the same square footage, but it's used more creatively, where you're maybe thinking about your furniture vignettes and things like that. Like, maybe you want all the young screaming wet kids kind of on the other end of the pool, and so you put an area there where maybe a specific table and chairs could be, and things like that. So we've been really pushing and pulling what the patio area looks like, and then that gives you guys the opportunity to come in and do plantings so that it feels like the whole thing was kind of thought through.
And in that scenario, a couple different points. One for your sake is knowing where the pool's actually going to be at, the shallow end, deep end, the sitting area, where the bathrooms are changing rooms. In some cases, are going to be positioned in the basement, so they can go in and out more easily instead of go all the way across the patio to come all the way back outside to the entertainment area, just to make it a little bit more comfortable, more inviting.
Sure.
Comes to pool decks, absolutely. When you're figuring it out, is a lot of people. I always bring it up is we can pre-sleeve for planters. So if you know where your pots and your planters you want them to be, we can sleeve them with a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch conduit, gas line, whatever. and we can run funny pipe through it, and we can actually
What
put
is funny pipe?
that's for irrigation, like drip irrigation, and you actually.
Funny pipe?
It's kind of funny because it's all loose and wiggly. But anyways,
All right.
you can run it through. And you put the spikes, the drip spikes in the pots, and nobody has to water them. You put them on. You set them on their own zone.
Right.
10 minutes a day, done.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, and it doesn't cost anything to do it that way. I mean, you just got some pipe. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting it in beforehand, and it's thought through, and it doesn't matter. Even if you move the pot, a few feet to the left, to the right.
Right.
It's small black. It's not going to be in the way.
I'm sure it's not free, but it's a small incremental cost. But it's one of those things I'm sure that, and there's 1,000 of them on every project where you as a homeowner, you would say, why didn't
Nobody wants to have to go
should
outside on 110 degree heat and have to water the flowers.
No.
They want to water the water themselves. So they can look out, while they're in nice air conditioning, knowing it's hot outside,
Right.
enjoying the beauty
And
of the flowers.
typically from their couch on their phone, hitting a button, and it turns the water on.
Absolutely. The Wi-Fi. There you go. We can almost segue to a whole nother podcast there. But also, when you think about the pool deck shape, it's so common that they'd run the whole pool deck around the whole pool.
Yeah.
And a lot of cases
It just doesn't have to be.
I mean, you can use the back side of the pool as the retaining wall itself and stone it, and you don't need to bring this and build all these walls and all this other stuff. You can just it doesn't have to be a negative edge. It just needs to be a coping edge, and then veneer the back end of the pool. Try to be nice, and then you're saving deck space, but you're also in a lot of cases you can build a landscape bed below it where you have these taller. I'm thinking some evergreens or some taller trees that kind of come up and tie the lower area in with the upper area.
Right.
It really creates more of a dramatic effect. And also, depending on the setting, the views of the window looking out, do they descend down to the woods to a creek bottom?
Right.
Do they, ascend? I mean, there's all kinds of different things you can think about when it comes to designing the full picture.
Yeah, and that's the primary reason that before you would start designing a brand new house, and it could certainly hold true in a lot of cases with additions, but before you want to start designing that, your architect really needs to visit the site with you and walk it and talk about all the different. I mean, it's not just things you want to capture as a view; it's things you don't want to capture as a view, right?
Yeah.
Do you want your I guess there's still people out there that like giant windows next to their bathtubs. Do you really want that facing your neighbor's kitchen window or their dining room? So that it's those kinds of things.
The problem is when they
Really
build
gotta-
this big ass house behind you, and it looks right into your bathroom
right.
window. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, I kind of have that issue going on right now.
Yeah. At your house?
Yeah.
Somebody's looking in your bathroom?
Oh yeah. It's a big house. 15-acre farm field. And they put the house in the very back corner that happens to be literally 40 foot from my property line.
Come on.
It's all, we're in Defiance, and it's literally 15 acres. They built a 3-acre lake, and they built this, I don't know how many 1,000-square-foot house, and it looks straight down into my master window. It looks right at her bed, and then you walk into the next, along the same wall is the bathtub window. And it's just like, hi.
Well, I don't know if you've been down my street lately. I'm sure you have, but there's a new like 17 or 18 home development. They slammed into what used to be 5 lots, or 4 lots actually. The 5th one, some other builder came and snatched it up. Well, that builder built a really nice house. It sold in the $800,000 range. Okay, but then right next to it, I know you know who it is. The developer came and ripped all the trees and everything out, and they slammed 18 houses into this. Well, 6 of these houses back up to the side of this 1.25 acre lot. So these people go out into their backyard, and they've got half a dozen neighbors in their backyards staring into their backyard. And so these people bought this, good-looking house. I didn't design it, but good-looking house. An acre and a quarter, and they've got 6 people that are coming to their party whether they like it or not. You really got to think through those things.
Green Giant arborvitae.
Green Giant. Well, they're going to need quite a few.
Quite
of
a few of them.
I'll give them your number, Tony.
That's why I don't have it in my house, because everybody wants them for their house for the exact same
so
reason.
there's no stock, right? Gotta fix all these over-the-road trucker issues we're having.
Oh
and
my
get
gosh. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, so you bring up actually a good point. Because when people are planning through what they're going to build and how it's going to be built, who they're going to use to build it, because everybody has a little bit of a different method. I mean, you dictate a lot of how the house is going to be built, but at the same time, the different contractors that are out there might do things still a different way that fit, again, serve a purpose to build the home the way it needs to be built. I mean, I've seen insane delays this year. I mean, this is hopefully it's a once in a lifetime thing that we're seeing in our lives, but I mean, how long is it going to persist as the time of this recording? I mean, you really have to be very intentional right now when you're building a home or building a landscape, designing a landscape about, the time frames, the expectations, right. And really get a clear sense of how this process is going to go, because in today's day and age, things just can come out of the blue and just change things dramatically.
Right.
We've seen price increases throughout these projects. I've actually heard a story from another builder, and he said that the banks actually stopped lending money because the cost of the home versus the original value, I can't remember exactly the terms of it, but it was it skyrocketed above it, and they couldn't lend anymore on it.
Right.
And they had to stop building the house. They happened to 4 homes. And I'm like, oh my gosh! And nobody understands how things have changed so fast this year, the last 18 months.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of builders. So we used to, and I mean up until probably 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago, we would put together a set of construction drawings that was maybe 50-60% complete, right, for permit, ready for permit, but only 60% of the way there. And they run out numbers, and they could hold those numbers for 2-3 months, right? These past 18 to 24 months, really 24 months, man, all the builders, we just got an email from one of our builder clients that you do a lot of work with too, yesterday, that we gave them a 50% set of construction drawings for a client that they actually brought to us. They emailed us back and said, hey, we can no longer price out based on 50% set. These these subcontractors and these suppliers won't, number one, they won't hold their numbers, but number two, they're not going to give you their best number because they need to cover fluff area. Mm-hmm. So if you're already paying too much, right, because everything's expensive, if it's already expensive and then these subcontractors and suppliers are going to guesstimate high, well, then it's going to look really high and scare people off. And so more often than not now, nobody wants to price out anything unless it's like 95 to 100% complete.
There's case in point, it's anything petroleum based, especially.
Yeah.
We have I have a couple different pipe suppliers that we use for drainage pipe, and there's an extremely large drainage project that we're looking at where it has 10-inch, 8-inch, 6-inch, and 4-inch pipe on it. Very unusual to have all the different sizes on a residential.
Sure.
And I got the quotes for everything, and the supplier says, look, we only hold these prices for a week.
Yeah. And that's across the board too. You name it, and they'll only hold it for a week, maybe 2 if you're lucky. It's insane, man. And then there's because I don't understand. Like I just heard on the radio today, we're about to get political up in here. I just heard on the radio today that like 225,000 people filed for unemployment this past month, like in November. Well, it was like 210 in October or something like that, right? So we've got supply chain issues that are insane. And what we are seeing now, and this happened to me in particular, actually, I ordered 7 cabinets for my living room. 2 months later, 5 of them show up. Wrong. 2 of them were right. 5 of them were wrong. They reordered them. 8 weeks later, those 5 were wrong again. So there's 10 mistakes. And the crazy thing about it is, number one, it costs too much to ship those back to Texas where they were made. So they don't want them back, right? We'll just fix it, right? But then on top of that, you've got all these people that, candidly, they're overworked. I mean, and that holds true for my staff too. I mean, we got 286 contracts this year. I had to stop new project starts for the month of November because we just could not get anything done. I mean, well, we were getting things done. We couldn't get all of it done.
Yeah.
And so, you've got not enough people to get the work done, not enough people to double check the work, and then it goes out and it's wrong. Well, that costs money too, right? And not only in this manufacturer has, in my case, like, made cabinetry, but they made it wrong. Now they got to replace it. Well, they lost the potential earnings, plus they lost the obvious actual cost of that first 5, then the second 5, and then they're going to have to ship everything out to me and take a total loss, in essence, on it, right? So there's their loss. But then I wanted to put these in back in March. I just got them put in last week. And it's me doing the work. I was a carpenter for 4 years.
You still work? No.
Well, when your wife's on you to get them cabinets in that were supposed to be in March, man, you better hop to it. But yeah, so you got people that are building a house. My case, not a big deal. But if I'm building a house and I'm paying rent on another house until this house is done and I don't have cabinets because they came wrong 2 times, and that throws everybody else's schedule off, on and on and on and on down the road.
Well, I mean, the case. Well, there's this house, my neighbor's house.
The one that's looking in your bathroom?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's probably distracting them is the fact that they don't have the sill-stone over the wing walls off the front door. They probably look at that. Then they look at my windows and look at it.
They want to cuss about something.
But there's a lot of things that they had. The gutters, couldn't get the gutters this year.
Yeah.
They had issues getting the gutters. They had issues getting some of the flashing. They had issues getting some of the what do you call it? The softening across the eaves of the house. I mean, it's and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not just one. It's not just one thing. It's every industry that's dealing with it right now.
Even furniture, like again, we're redoing our living room. Man, we went, and I'm not even going to name names. We went to literally every store that sold furniture. We want to buy quality. We want to buy American. Even that's problematic. So then we started looking at the lesser quality, not made in America junk, and even that's a problem. And so it's, we went to 12 different stores, and every single one of them is saying, July or September, and we'll be delivering your couch. I'm like, why would I even give you my money right now? I'll just sit on the jalopy that I got in my living room until you guys are. I got 4 kids. They trashed the couch. We'll just live with it until you guys get stock.
And looking to the future, I mean, on our end, we've looked at what we're going to grow ourselves next year. When we're talking to some vendors, and a lot of people
are you going to change product that you're growing and add to it? Or
we're looking to, that's
because you're having supply chain issues.
Well, we're not having them yet. We're anticipating them.
Yeah.
Because, all the chatter with all the growers and all the, the different plant brokers out there is you should be getting confirmations on some things, and some things we're not getting confirmations on. It's like, well, okay, I'm not going to sit here and sit on my hands.
Right.
We need to figure out, but we also need to set expectations with clients that, hey, there might be some things going into next year that we may have to come in and plant later. Hopefully, in every case, it's not a plant that's in a spot where it has to be done in sequence with a certain phase of a home.
Yeah, sure.
But
well, do you guys get a lot of clients though that want a specific kind of plant? Or are you recommending?
It depends.
Most of the time.
It really depends. On most cases, in most cases, we're recommending.
Yeah.
It's always those chances that when it comes in, we happen to have like 2 of that, and we only have 1 at that point in time. Where we have them slated to come in, but then with shipping, we don't get the plant in. We get it 8 weeks, 10 weeks later, and it holds up. For one tree, it holds up our whole thing.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases, when we're working with our clients, I mean, our process is a very intimate process where we love getting into the conversation with them and really understanding how they're gonna use the space, and man, I could go off on a whole tangent here with it, but they get excited about what it is we're speccing out and have to go back and change it. I mean, now we can't do that with the changes. It kind of deflates the excitement out of it, because everybody's really, forming a concrete, vision about what this is going to be.
Sure.
And just that one thing, focal point plant, could change it all. So I want to avoid that.
Try to steer them somewhere else. I mean, because honestly, I mean, I'm 47, and I would say I've only met in terms of people that are not Tony Frisella Jr. I've only met maybe 4 in my life that would know what a plant, a plant outside of the basics, right? Like, what is that, a poinsettia back there. Did I say that right? You say it 8 different ways. You got mums and you know, boxwoods and all the basics most people know, right? But nobody's going to come to you and say, well, I want one of these, yada, 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 yada. Right?
Snake bite maple.
Well, yeah, whatever that thing is. You know, it's I haven't met many people that would start speccing their own plants outside of, again, the basics.
But that's where planning everything up front and having the lead time,
Sure.
not just bringing us in when the house is shelled up and under roof.
Right.
Because it limits the flexibility that we have to do our most creative work. And not most creative equaling more expensive. It's just plain simple allowing us to maximize the creativity
Right.
for whatever the situation is, whether it's a budget, whether it's a setting, whether it's a access point. It just allows the creativity to be maximized, and that's what everybody wants.
Sure.
And so, coming full circle to the conversation, I mean, that's why, you know, I've worked with you on a number of homes since 2009, I think.
Yeah.
I was a punk kid.
It goes back on what I think you had hair back then.
Yeah, I did have hair. I used to have gel and everything else
Yeah.
in there. And then I had to
Yeah.
go to the Jeff Date.
Product.
Yeah.
Put product. In his
Product.
hair. Man, I haven't had hair in, golly, man, like 18 years. I love it though. Well, I have facial hair. I
Yeah.
can grow that.
It's from the ears down.
Yes,
So.
that's right. That's right.
Well, Jeff, hey, I appreciate you coming in. And where can people find you?
So we are located in Manchester, Missouri at 14311 Manchester Road, right next to Highway 141. And to check out some of our work, we've got a real nice portfolio. We do commercial and residential. And the primary website is jeffdayllc.com, JEFFDAYLLC.com.
You're on social media?
I'm on some social media. I just don't get on there too much, you know.
All right. Okay. All right, guys. Well, check us out, FrisellaNursery.com, on all of our social media, Frisella Nursery, or at Frisella Nursery, at Frisella Landscape Group. We have 2 social media handles for both our brands. So one's more focused, obviously, on landscaping, construction, design. The other one's more focused on the DIY. You'll come in, get as much information as possible at our garden center, 30 acres here out in Defiance, Missouri. We would love to have as much feedback from you as possible on our shows. So you can email us, podcast@FrisellaNursery.com, or if you just need some help in your garden, have some questions, you want to send some photos and get some answers back, you can email us, help@FrisellaNursery.com, and someone from our garden center will be more than happy to help you address any issues and help you be as successful in your yard as possible. So appreciate your ears. Enjoy being back on today, talking to you all, talking with Jeff, and we'll catch up with you guys soon.
Yeah, thanks, man. Good talk.